Good morning. This is Midday Report at TVP World. My name's Anna Kalczyńska. Belgium says the EU should hold off on making a decision on the use of Russian frozen assets, as it could endanger the latest peace talks on the war in Ukraine. Brussels remains the biggest hurdle for the European Union to releasing the 140 billion euro of the Russian assets that were put on ice in Belgian banks since the start of the war. We are now joined live by our correspondent in the Belgian capital, Kazimierz Łysiak. Good morning, Kazimierz. So what exactly is the reasoning of the Belgian government here?
Hello, Anna. This seems to be the Belgian Prime Minister Bart de Wever's dashing any hopes for a quick agreement to be made here in the European Union on the use of the Russian frozen assets. He called this move fundamentally wrong in the latest letter sent to the European Commission. Parts of that letter leaked to the media, so let's take a look.
Hastily moving forward on the proposed reparations loan scheme would have as a collateral damage that we as EU are effectively preventing reaching an eventual peace deal.
Now, this comes all in the context of Belgium being the biggest opponent of using the Russian frozen assets in the recent weeks, being the biggest opponent because most of these frozen assets are stored in Belgian banks, like Euroclear, for example, here in Brussels. Now, it remains to be seen what will be the response of the European Commission. Earlier this week, the President of the Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said that the Commission is ready to present the legal text on the use of the Russian frozen assets. And these assets would be very much needed by Ukraine. We are talking about 140 billion euro as the United States has stopped donating any funds to Ukraine. The bulk of these deliveries now lies on the EU, and this way the reparations loan would mean taking some of these frozen assets, providing them to Ukraine, and then in the future after the war hoping that Russia would have to pay back reparations to Ukraine, thus the name reparations loan. The use of these assets, however, according to Belgium, is presenting a lot of challenges, especially since Brussels does not want to be left alone if Russia comes knocking in the future demanding legal compensation. Moscow is claiming that such a move would be theft, only exacerbating the concerns that Belgium has. And the European Union now has to double its efforts to convince Belgium to agree to this move, or else they would have to get this money through public debt shared between EU member states, a move that no one really wants to do. But Belgium also is very hesitant to go through with the use of these Russian frozen assets, as it does not want to be left hanging. The EU now wants to convince Belgium before the European Council in mid-December, but we have to wait and see whether they will be able to do so. Back to you, Anna.
And so the discussions continue. Kazimierz Łysiak from Brussels. Thank you so much, Kazimierz. The head of Ukraine's presidential office, Andriy Yermak, has been raided by anti-corruption officers as part of an investigation into the country's biggest graft scandal in years. The search comes as a precarious moment for Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who's under pressure from the United States to accept a peace plan that's seen as favoring Russia.
Andriy Yermak is President Volodymyr Zelenskyy's point man for Ukraine's peace talks with the US, seen here last week meeting Washington's Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll, who was in Kyiv to push Donald Trump's current proposals. Authorities investigating a $100 million kickback scheme have arrested a number of key figures. Ukraine's National Anti-Corruption Bureau announced on Friday it was searching Yermak's premises as part of the probe. The search comes at a perilous moment for Zelenskyy, who's being pushed by Trump's team to accept a peace plan that's seen as favouring Russia. One Ukrainian MP says Zelenskyy's failure to suspend his official risks undermining the trust of Kyiv's partners at a crucial time.
These searches at the office of president are also showing that president has missed a crucial moment to at least suspend his chief of staff for a time of the investigation. This is what we in Parliament were demanding last week and the week before that, because Ukraine cannot sacrifice our process of negotiation, cannot sacrifice the trust of our partners just because there are questions to the chief of president's office.
8 people have already been charged in connection with the kickback scandal surrounding the state nuclear power operator Energoatom. 2 ministers have resigned, and a former business associate of Zelensky's, who is alleged to be the ringleader, fled Ukraine earlier this month. While Yermak says he is fully cooperating with the authorities, ordinary Ukrainians fear the searches could derail the delicate peace process.
Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow today. Putin noted the stability of relations between Moscow and Budapest and confirmed Budapest as a welcome venue for Ukraine peace talks with United States President Donald Trump.
Before his meeting with Vladimir Putin, Viktor Orban made it clear that he intends to strike a deal with Russia today.
Hungary currently has the lowest energy prices in Europe. This is because we have access to cheap, relative to international prices, Russian oil and gas.
Ever since the war in Ukraine began, Hungary has been siding with Moscow. Recently, this has been communicated straight from the shoulder.
We were in Washington not so long ago to get Hungary exempted from these sanctions. We succeeded in doing so, which is great. Now all we need is gas and oil, which we can buy from the Russians. So I am going there to ensure that Hungary's energy supply is secured for the winter and the coming year at an affordable price.
Orban also wants to advocate on behalf of Serbia, whose refinery ran out of crude in late November due to US-imposed sanctions. The Hungarian Prime Minister wants to convince Putin to sell Russian shares in the Serbian plant to the Hungarian state-owned energy giant MOL. And Orban's deal-making trip comes at a sensitive time for Ukraine, as Kiev is under pressure from the United States to accept a peace plan seen as favoring Russia. Ahead of this trip, Orban said that talks about peace in Ukraine will hardly be avoided. Putin has already told Orban that he would still like to come to Budapest, the Hungarian capital, for peace talks with US President Donald Trump.
Europe is facing increasingly sophisticated disinformation campaigns, with the social media realm becoming a key battleground for foreign influence. Understanding how the challenges of disinformation affect public trust, security and democratic institutions appear more urgent than ever. The European Parliament now looks to step in with a leading role. Piotr Miszczuk reports.
Whether it's in the run-up to an election in Moldova or in the aftermath of drone incidents across Europe, Russian and Belarusian disinformation has permeated the social fabric across the European Union. Europe has now stepped up its efforts to stem the tide of propaganda from the East. The European Parliament's Rafaela de Marte told TVP World.
I think we have taken very huge steps in the last years, because this has been piling up for some time now, and of course the war and aggression of Ukraine has been an eye-opener for all of us. So since then all the steps have been not only reinforced but even a much speedier pace.
Disinformation is part and parcel of Russian sabotage acts, including the massive drone incursion into Poland in September.
It was also accompanied with immediate, huge disinformation campaign. So we believe it was premeditated.
But there are some effective means of countering the disinformation, officials say.
We cannot fight disinformation just by debunking and responding to any totally unfounded news that come from parts of the world that try to interfere with our democratic space. But we have to strengthen our media, which is really an important space for healthy public debate and civil society.
The stories, you can have a look at that.
But according to last month's European Federation of Journalists report on journalism in Europe, media workers are, quote, struggling and quitting, which risks becoming a press freedom crisis. The report notes that journalists are suffering from mental health issues, financial woes, poor work-life balance and online abuse.
The media industry's more predatory characteristics, persistently heavy workloads, problematic organizational practices, and a lack of reciprocity between what workers bring to the job and what the industry gives in return are not a bug, but a feature of a system bolstered by the passion of its professionals.
According to this year's World Press Freedom Index, the Nordic countries and Estonia are the models to follow. For others, there still remains room for improvement.
And on a lighter note now, popular dystopian video game Cyberpunk 2077 has now sold over 35 million copies, cementing its place as one of the biggest-selling games of all time. The role-playing title was first released in 2020, but has since grown into a highly popular and acclaimed phenomenon.
What do you get if you combine Keanu Reeves with a beloved futuristic universe in a video game? A smash hit. The biggest Polish video game studio, CD Projekt Red, announced that Cyberpunk 2077, their biggest and most expensive title to date, had broken another sales record with 35 million copies sold.
This game examines what humanity actually is in a way similar to other science fiction and cyberpunk classics like Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner. This is a game about transhumanism that asks what will happen when you merge a soul with a machine.
The game puts the player in the boots of a V, a male or female citizen of the technology-infused Night City, whose destiny is intertwined with a character played by Keanu Reeves.
Come on, V, let's get you home.
The game had a famously troubled development and shipped on some platforms in very bad shape. Consumer backlash ensued, and the company's stock only recently recovered to pre-Cyberpunk levels.
The console version of the game was plagued with technical issues, with the most important being that the game would not run as smoothly as intended. The problem was so obvious that Sony even decided to pull it out of its gaming store, which was a big blow.
CD Projekt Red owned the mistake and continued to work on the game, with an update ironing out the issue after issue. Because of that, Cyberpunk 2077 became not only a sales hit, earning the company more than 700 million euros, but also a video game classic. The studio made a name for themselves with game adaptations of the Witcher saga by Polish author Andriy Yermak. The third installment in the series remains the studio's biggest hit, having sold 60 million copies.
The Witcher 3, up to this day, is considered one of the best role-playing games of all time. This was CD Projekt Red throwing the gauntlet to more established major gaming studios, with their own story inspired by Central and Eastern Europe and Slavic mythology.
Right now, the studio is busy with work on the fourth part of its iconic Witcher series. A sequel to Cyberpunk 2077 is also in the works.
Don't want you dead anymore.
Poland has been battling frost and snow for nearly a week. In many places, the weather made for beautiful winter landscapes, but it has also caused many problems, including a major power outage in central Poland.
Last night, ice warnings were issued in 13 regions of Poland. In some places, the ground temperature dropped as low as -12 degrees Celsius. Ice appeared on roads and pavements.
What a disaster! It's hard to even walk. It's easy to slip and fall.
In Poddębice in central Poland, over 20,000 residents were left without electricity after the weather conditions led to power outages.
It's a disaster. We have to use candles. The kids have to pack their book bags by candlelight. It's hard to even find the bathroom in the dark.
Over 2 days, 23 centimeters of snow fell in Olsztyn in the country's northeast. The city hasn't seen this much snow in 19 years. In some cases, shoveling snow isn't just a household chore, it's a legal obligation. Failure to comply may result in a fine.
Under the Act on Maintaining Cleanliness and Order in Municipalities, property owners are required to clear mud, snow and ice from sidewalks and pedestrian paths directly adjacent to their property.
Much of December and January may look like this in Poland. Forecasters say that because of a combination of weather factors, the country may face an exceptionally snowy and freezing winter.
And that's all in this edition of Midday Report. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and please stay tuned to TVP World for more features to come. Thank you and goodbye.